The Labor Statistics Bureau says that whole food sale prices shot up by almost 4% last month, the biggest increase in more than 36 years. But one economist says the expensive price of this red pepper and other produce should only be temporary. This is one of the few bike lanes in Syracuse, and when riders hit the end of it, they're forced to enter this five-way intersection and share the road with other cars, which can make their trips pretty dangerous. And efforts to make it safer for them is very expensive. 315-243-5657. That's the number I called for Dan Maffei's congressional office in Syracuse, which I found under a Google search. And this is the message I got. Freedom of Espresso is one of the 165 local businesses participating in the Shop Syracuse campaign, and many of the people I spoke with here in downtown Armory Square say they support buying locally, but many of them still like to get their coffee fix at a place that's more familiar.
I would also like to apologize to the victim for any pain and suffering that she endured through this whole situation.
The victim, Lisa Torrance, was in the shower when Cecil Torrance III pulled out a gun and shot his wife 4 times. Now Lisa, who is not in court today, won't be seeing her husband for many, many years. He'll be spending the next 18 years behind bars and will be supervised for 2.5 years after his release. He also has been ordered to stay away from his wife and not contact her for the next 25 years.
I talked to the victim about the sentence, and she was satisfied with the sentence.
It was here that Lisa was found naked, lying face down in the snow with 4 bullet wounds after dragging herself through her home.
He is absolutely devastated by his conduct and what he did to his wife and what he did to his children.
The prosecutor said in earlier court proceedings Cecil's motive was he believed his wife had cheated on him, while the defense attorney says his client is remorseful and understands the consequences. Some family members aren't happy.
He's a good person, good father, good husband, and she cheated, and this is what happened.
His aunt says he doesn't deserve such a harsh punishment. The defendant apologized to other family members in court, and they say they forgive him. He also said sorry to his children, one of whom was at the house when the attempted murder took place. Police reports indicate Cecil had been violent toward his family even before that March day, but now they won't face those threats anymore. NCC News called Congressmember Dan Maffei's office about a story on the high-speed rail project, but suddenly Maffei himself became the more pertinent story. With just a few weeks before Election Day, we found someone who may be up to some dirty tricks. 315-243-5657. That's the number I called for Dan Maffei's congressional office in Syracuse, which I found under a Google search. And this is the message I got.
Please vote for Anne Marie Burkle, a candidate of integrity. Thank you.
The number posted on his official website correctly connected to his office, but the 2 numbers had 2 interchanged digits. And after a few dozen calls to the wrong number, I reached its owner, who said people have been calling her cell phone for months, thinking it was Maffei's office. We stopped by Maffei's campaign headquarters for a reaction. They refused to comment and told us to leave, so we did, and the staffers immediately gathered in the back room. His communications director, Abby Gardner, later told us one staffer mistakenly input the wrong number into Google. I informed Maffei of the mix-up, and he said he was unaware of it.
Did anybody on my staff find out about this?
He said this is politics, figuring it was just another dirty trick.
In previous campaigns, and it may happen again this time, people have gotten robocalls that claim to be from me when they're actually from, not necessarily my opponent, but from some outside group. It's unfortunate. I don't think that works.
After no further conversations with the owner of this wrong number, it remains unclear if she simply got frustrated with the misdirected calls and recorded a message for payback, or if she works for Burkle's campaign. Neither Burkle's office nor the woman with the wrong number is commenting, so we don't yet know what is true. Maffei's campaign says that woman never called complaining about the misdirected calls, so it could be that someone simply took advantage of a campaign's mistake.
It's a constant battle with the weather.
Weather is such a huge factor, and it's so uncontrollable.
This winter crippled food production from Florida to California and central New York. Delaney Farms in the town of Onondaga is now getting ingredients to grow sweet corn, tomatoes, and peppers. Its owner says this year they have to charge more to stay in business.
We're anticipating higher costs through the production of the crop due to the cost of fuel, mainly.
Those high fuel prices are causing a major financial strain for most growers right now. And to lessen that burden, some like Delaney are working with Cornell University researchers to learn about new farming techniques that yield higher quality produce that can be sold locally.
The development of a $100 million broccoli industry in the Northeast. Again, perfect example of better food, locally sourced, less expensive ultimately than it would be if it had to be trucked, and it's just going to taste better.
The Labor Statistics Bureau says that whole food sale prices shot up by almost 4% last month, the biggest increase in more than 36 years. But one economist says the expensive price of this red pepper and other produce should only be temporary.
Some agricultural economists are basically saying weather out the storm here, literally, for this is not going to be a long-term phenomenon. This is going to be kind of a 3 to 4 month phenomenon.
One Cornell fruit researcher is skeptical, though.
I would doubt that the costs are going down because fuel prices are definitely going up.
Judkowski says the high cost of fuel is because of uncertainty in the Middle East and should also be temporary. He says while consumers are tightening their budgets in the produce aisle now, come summer, more local produce will be on the shelves, which means you won't have to fork out as much money.